Hasbro situation part 2. Um, I think that the Hasbro Corporation has been infected by corporate greed is mainly what the main problem is. They overproduce and overprice most of their stuff. And they're realizing that that's not working. And then they're making too many repaints and reissues of the same figures. They're also realizing, again, that's not working. So their thought is that they're going to go to video games. And they also are planning on probably not making as many of their board games anymore. Now, I think personally, like I said in the other video, I think they're too late in the game to be doing this. But like by the time Toys R Us decided to do that, they pretty much, by the time Toys R Us decided to get into the video game industry, it was too late and they had already ruined themselves. Part of that was corporate greed and mismanagement and other things. And I think that's part of what Hasbro's problem is too, is corporate greed, mismanagement, and other things. Like, who hires a tech billionaire as your CEO when you're a toys and games corporation? That makes no sense. You're hiring the wrong people to run your business. And you're overpriced, and your toys are overpriced, and you're overproducing your toys, and there's too many rethemes and repaints and reissues of the same dead gum blasted stuff. So I don't know what kind of video games y'all gonna make, but they better be unique, okay? And since you're too dead gum already invested and too late in the game, in my opinion, yeah, I don't, I don't, I don't see, I don't see it happening. Personally, like I said, you need to start making new board games. New, not rethemes, not themed editions of the old classic games. You need to take a look and see what the adult board gamer is playing and figure out a way to make a game like that, but incorporate your IP licenses, which again are Power Rangers, Marvel, G.I. Joe, Transformers. The ones you actually own are G.I. Joe's, Transformers. The ones you don't own is Marvel, because Disney owns Marvel. And Disney's part of the problem with their corporate greed. That's really their part of the problem. So you can license out your Transformers, G.I. Joe, and Power Rangers stuff. Okay. Or you could actually come out with new games, hire some developers to create these new games. But what you're going to do and what you've been doing is licensing them out. I got you. Probably because it's cheaper. But personally, Why license them out? Because you don't want to get rid of the IP and you don't want to sell it. Well, personally, I think that's kind of wrong because, well, I do honestly think it's a little wrong. I mean, I think that licensing out stuff is cool, but it's a cop out. It's basically saying we're too lazy to come up with and think of new ideas, new designs, new games, new everything. So we're just going to license our IPs out that we own to somebody else. Now, on one side of the coin, that means you don't have to compete with them, which is, I guess, a good thing because you're over here like, well, we don't have to compete with them anymore because we license our products out. We license them out to them. Yeah, true. But if you're going to license your toys and you're going to license your game IPs out, why not just license your IPs to video game developers that already exist that are doing a way better job than you? I mean, license your stuff out to all these different toy people that are already making stuff and doing a way better job than you. Like NECA, for example. Why don't you license your G.I. Joe line to NECA then? And all these other people. I mean, if you're going to license stuff out, if you're licensing everything else out for your toys and games departments, and you're lowering and reducing your amount of toys you're going to make, and you're lowering and reducing the amount of, board games you're going to probably make and produce, why not just license it out to other video game designers, developers, and etc. instead of jumping into the video game business yourself and trying to develop and create brand new games when you have literally no department for that already. Like I said, you're jumping in the game way too late. You have plenty of department for toy developers and toy designers. You could, if you wanted to, Hasbro, match Playmates toys. But you're going to license stuff to Playmates toys. You could, if you wanted to, Hasbro, match what NECA's doing with their toys. Match what all these other toy companies are doing with their toys. But you're probably ending up going to not do that. You have the ability to do that, but you're not going to do that. Because you want to make cheaper quality toys for more expensive value. You want to make you want to make cheaper toys and you want to cut costs with the toys. You don't want to give what the fans what they actually want from the toys. The toy market is adult collectors, and you still got the idea that, hey, kids are the ones who buy toys. No, Adults are the ones who buying the toys and collecting now. Yet you don't make collectible toys. Not very much. The only reason you make collectible Marvel Legends is because Disney has licensed them out for you, but you overproduce them and you do too many repaints and rethemes, just like your Transformer line, just like your G.I. Joe Classified line. Yeah, G.I. Joe Classified's cool and all, but nobody asked for giant. Nobody is really wanting vehicles and playsets. Yes, your He-Man and the Masters of the Universe line, I think Hasbro is in charge of that, is cool and all, but your figures are too big and nobody asked for playsets. Your original G.I. Joes were big, and you've kind of gone back to big. They were the size of Barbie. But yet, probably, if you were smart, you would go back to the old school G.I. Joes O-ring figures that are small. Why? Because you could produce vehicles and playsets for the small figures way easier than you can try to produce big freaking playsets for classifieds and vehicles for classifieds. What's next? Vehicles for the Marvel Legends figures? Vehicles for the Zords for the Power Rangers Legacy Lightning whatever collections? No, because you're going to license the Legacy line. I mean the Power Rangers stuff. I already heard you. I licensed it to Playmates. Already said in a previous video. I like that. I like it. I like the idea that you license it to Playmates. Playmates makes cheaper toys. They don't mass produce as much as their toys as they do. They only have one basic line, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, they do need some more stuff to do. Playmates, basically, they don't have that many lines. They also have the Voltron build the Voltron line thing, which I think is awesome because if Playmates gets a hold of the Power Rangers lines, they can do that with all the Megazords. Build a Megazord. Yeah, it's cool. Um, yeah, so they can make Power Ranger action figures. They can make Power Ranger Zords. Uh, they Playmates just does not have a whole lot of lines, IPs. They get like this would be a good thing for Playmates. So I like it. Anyway, basically, if you're not going, personally, I think it's kind of shady to be licensing your stuff out, and you're making money, and it's costing the toy company more money because they have to pay you licensing fee for your IPs. Here's the idea: if you're not going to be able to do it yourself, Hasbro, maybe you should just sell your IPs. Maybe you should just sell them. But you're not going to do that because you want corporate greed. You want that money. Anyway, that's pretty much what I was going to say about part two. Is maybe if you're going to be too lazy to do it yourself when you have the ability. I mean, you're a traditional toys and games company. You have people. You have developers. You have designers. You have people within your company that are probably been pitching these ideas to you for years, and y'all been like, no, and that won't work, no, and rejecting them. And now you're seeing that the board gaming market is these same ideas that your guys rejected you from, possibly even left your company and started your own Kickstarter board game thing. Um, Possibly even left your company and started their own toy action figure line. You see what they're doing, and they're competing with you and kicking your butt, and you're slapping, and you're face palming yourself because, hey, that guy had that idea 10 years ago, but we rejected him. We're stupid. Yeah, there's your part of your problem, Hasbro. Leadership, management, corporate greed, sticking with what works and not actually doing it yourself and trying new things, which you should have been doing all along. But now you decided to hire a CEO that's not interested in toys and games for a toys and games company, and then you on top of that, he wants to get you into video game companies things, but he wants y'all to develop your own video games when y'all know nothing about video games because you jumping too late into the thing. I completely understand the idea that you need to go toward video games. Matter of fact, this is part of the reason why Toys R Us failed. It's also part of the reason why KB Toys failed. Part of the reason why most toy companies fail because they didn't get into video games sooner. They jump in it too late. So if you were smart, Hasbro, if you were smart, you would get some of your people, your smart people, to develop new toys. New. Something that doesn't exist. Brand new. New. Because that's what people are looking for. New. Quit retheming. Quit repainting. Quit mass producing. Make something new. And new games. New. I mean, there's only so many themes you can have with board games, but you could throw your IPs into all these games. You need to develop new, something different, something new. New. But you're trying to focus all your attention on making new video games. The market's already out there for video games. It would be easier to license the video games out, license the IPs to existing video game companies, than try to start a whole entire new video game division, which is what you're trying to do. It would be easier to just license all your IPs out to and just sit back like a franchise owner. Oh, you own this. Y'all can make it. You can make that. Then it would be to try to develop a new division within your company. But it would be better to get back to the basics of what y'all used to do. You used to, Hasbro, listen up. You used to develop new. You used to come up with new, unique ideas. The reason why a whole lot of the games that exist today, even in the old Kickstarter stuff, they come from the roots of some of the companies you owned. Avalon Hill, Milton Bradley, Parker Brothers. Some of those old vintage games have been First of all, you have the whole entire idea of some people want some of those old vintage games back. All you have to do is remake them. Reissues. Wow. But y'all had some wild, crazy, unique ideas back then. And y'all quit doing that. Go back. You know who's still doing that though? People on Kickstarter. European developers, European designers, Eurogame people. And the board game community are buying it. Y'all have the ability to do it. You have the ability to match and beat all these board game companies because you are basically you're a toys and games company. You're the toy and games company. You have the experience, you have the years, you have the licenses, you have the patents. I'm pretty sure because your corporate greed has not let you get rid of a single patent. Maybe you should go in back in your patent files and look through some of your games and see which ones were great and reissue those. Maybe. I mean, like, for example, there's a game called Star Wars Epic Duels. This just going to throw an idea out there for you Hasbro people. There's a game called Star Wars Epic Duels. It's basically a light version of a tactical miniatures game. And you could have made a G.I. Joe version of it, and you could have made expansions upon expansions upon expansions. You could also make Power Rangers versions of it. You could make Marvel versions of it because you have the IP. You could make Transformers versions of it because you have the IP. And you can make all of them connect and cross over with each other and have special rules and abilities for it. You know what game, you want to know what it's a light game of? It's actually a light game of a few Star Wars games that exist right now. There's Star Wars Skirmish, the Star Wars Skirmish games, and the Star Wars Miniatures game, and well, Star Wars Rebellion, I believe, is the game that I'm talking about, which has tactical miniatures, but they make people paint them, I think. This game had pre-painted miniatures, this game that I'm talking about. But the point is, it's a light version of some more heavier games that are basically tactical miniatures. Games from both a Squad Command and a bigger galaxy of games. But you blew it. You have the IP to do these things, to make these games, and then you don't go back to the past. You don't go bring stuff back that was good. You had the Game Master series lines of games. Axon as an Allies from Avalon. You had all the Game Master series from Avalon Hill Games. Milton Bradley. You had the historical games line from Parker Brothers. You had all these games that you could go. Most of them are area control war type games, right? Okay, you have a bunch of those still in your thing, in your licenses, in your patents pretty sure that you still have the patents for them. Just bring them back, because a lot of those are equal to, if not as good as, or better yet, create a tactical miniatures game in that universe. Or better yet, create that game but set in the, like, here's an example. You have Fortress America. You can always bring Fortress America back. They have brought Fortress America back. You have Shogun. They have, but you have Monsters Menace America. That was a pretty good one. Why not make it Transformers Menace America? It's just be the same game, but you got to retheme it, you know? Or Fortress America. How about Fortress Cybertron, where the, I don't know, the Autobots are trying to defend, or Fortress Joe, you know, where or Assault on Cobra Island version of a Fortress America, where Cobra Island is the fortress and the Joes are trying to attack it. I don't know. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is you can use your IPs. Go find these games from the past that are awesome, that are Avalon Hill games, that are Milton Bradley games, that are Parker Brother games, that are history games, that are war games, that are area control games that worked, that are miniatures games that still had simple mechanics and simple rules, but worked, but were cool, that were awesome. You can restore a bunch of them that are just the same way they already were, and on top of that, you can also retheme them and create new with your IPs. Just saying, go back to the basics. Go back to the past. Go back to see what you used to make that worked. Ask your fans what they want. You know that the people that are, you do know that nostalgia is a thing, right? So basically, another thing you should be looking for is the collectors of the games. The vintage games, some of the vintage games that were good. You are bringing they are bringing some of those back, but nostalgia is the fact that, okay, we're 30 and 40 years old now, and we used to play that game when we were 10, or it came out when we were 10, and we was like, I wanted that game, but now we can't get that game, and the only way we can get that game is if some crazy scalper dude has it on eBay and they have it for a ridiculous price. You could compete with those people trying to sell the original copies and come up with a brand new edition and sell them for half price or less. You have the ability, Hasbro. Come on. You still have the patents, which means you still have all the schematics, all the stuff to just bring that game back. Just bring it back. But you don't. Instead, you're just going to be lazy. Try to go in a different direction that you're jumping too late in the game, that you have no previous experience in. at all. I just don't get it. Sometimes you need to go back to your roots. I think Hasbro needs to go back to its roots. Sometimes you need to go back to the roots. What made you a great toy and game company, Hasbro? You need to go back to your roots. That's just kind of what I was thinking. I know times change, but sometimes it's time to change back to your roots and figure out what made you so great and big and powerful to begin with and go back to it, because people honestly grow up. Yes, they do, but that doesn't mean they don't like the stuff that they watched when they were a kid, that they played when they were a kid. So do better, Hasbro. Or you're going to end up doing what Toys R Us and KB Toys did. Sink all your money into video games. And useless LPs that no one cares about. And be too late in the game when you can be smart. What made G.I. Joe and Transformers so great and so popular? They had awesome TV shows. They had awesome cartoons. Same thing with He-Man, Masters of the Universe, a whole bunch of other stuff. I don't know. Maybe instead of trying to get into the video game company, maybe, just maybe, here's the thought. Here's the thought, Hasbro. Get into the movie game. You tried it, but not many people are watching it. What's the problem? Maybe it's because the movies are not anywhere close that you're making, are not even anywhere close to the cartoons. Maybe get into the TV show game. And instead of just, making new shows, here's an idea. Just replay the reruns of the old shows. That way you get some newer people watching older shows. And then you can start developing toys, adult collectible versions of them, though, and games based off of those things. Here's a thought. Maybe try to push people off of the video games and onto live games, because COVID's over. People aren't staying home. People want interaction with other people. That is why the tabletop gaming is making a comeback. Just when you, Hasbro, are trying to get out of it, it's making a resurgence and a comeback. Just when you're trying to get into the video games, people aren't as interested in video games anymore. Just some thoughts about the Hasbro situation. Later.